considering that the city, like they have the problems that we've gone over, like they don't have the manpower to handle this stuff. In some way, like there's tons of money that goes into all these programs, but it doesn't ever seem to make it down. It doesn't seem to have an effect. And then the other challenges that we discussed with the shelters. And so that puts the people who are on the streets that they get to this position, like you said, where they lose all attachment to their humanity in a way, or they get strung out on drugs or whatever. Do you think that the city bears some responsibility? Do you think that they are enabling those people in this like negative situation?
I don't think it's I don't think a helping hand is enabling. A helping hand is a helping hand, but
well, I mean more like their
enabling
inability. They are not able to. They don't seem to be able to fix the problem for these people.
Well,
so do you think in that way that they're allowing this to continue?
In that way, you could say that they could be enabling if they throwing money at the problem and then the problem is not being solved but getting worse. I think that would be a form of enabling. One of the things I wanted to mention is
career.
There can be some easy solutions to getting some of these people off the street. And one of the things that I suggest is making things incentive based instead of picking winners and losers. Because being incentive based, for instance, if you meet certain criteria, whether it be work related, whether it be religious based or community based, I think we will be in a position to get the people who are at a level where they like one step away from getting off the streets, because there's different levels of homelessness. You got some people who've been out here for a long time. You got some people who've been out here for 5 months. You got some people who have the ability to work, who have the ability to do what they need to do to get off the streets, but they might just need a helping hand. They might need some government assistance as far as paperwork or as far as direction. And so making it incentive based, I think would reduce the number to a point where we could focus on, we can start distinguishing and focusing on the difference between the mental illness problems, the drug problem, or whether it's work related or initiative based. And so once you start tackling it like that, it'll make.
What would some of the incentives be? Like, what would be an example of like an incentive based solution?
Well, they have a number of churches in the area, and so work related or volunteer work could be whether it be for a church or for a nonprofit organization, making it mandatory to have to put in so many hours of work, whether it be at a church or a nonprofit. That could be one thing. Another thing could be programs to get in some type of class. You would have to receive. You would have to get certain certificates, certain approvals from certain counselors or certain groups to qualify, like NA or AA. You would have to attend these places. Also, you have day labor opportunities. You could have an incentive where they have to work so many hours a week in order to receive a certain amount of governmental assistance or benefits. And so volunteer work, labor opportunities, and
sobriety programs.
And sobriety programs. Once you do it like that, I think you'll be able to narrow it down a little.
That's good. Yeah, that's really good. Go ahead, Eric.
The last one, the work programs that they got, or the, because some of the stuff the city is doing is already incentive based. If you look at it, you just got to make the choice.
Like food stamps. Food stamps are incentive based.
Right. The rapid housing program, that's incentive based, but you have to make a choice to take the necessary steps to get your name on that list, and keep calling them back like you're supposed to. I understand with COVID, they couldn't just open up and take all of these different names of people because, we was under shelter in place.
Mm-hmm.
But now that's, for the most part, been taken and put on a back burner. They got multiple agencies trying to get people into hotels until they can move into their apartment.
Yeah.
And they got different levels of the apartments that you can get into.
Just precinct.
But yeah, food stamps, that's definitely incentive based. But then too, with it being incentive based, you have to have them people giving you the right information, or otherwise you're gonna get taken for a trip, and then you're gonna lose everything.
On that note, like you mentioned the housing and stuff, one thing when I've spoken to other folks, like in different areas of the city, what they say is, what I've heard is that a lot of times what'll happen is somebody will get into one of these programs and they'll put them in a apartment or something, and they give them these vouchers to like pay for their stuff. But the problem is, in that particular program, they don't have sobriety requirements, and so what a lot of times happens is those people get in that situation. They maybe make some progress, but then ultimately, whenever the assistance runs out and they're supposed to be on their feet, they're not sober and they can't handle themselves, and they end up back on the streets. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that happens to certain
It's
people.
in a-
That's true.
That's true. That is
Yes,
revolving
also.
door.
He
He right
mentioned
about
it though.
He right about
They got the programs down here. You just got to make the choice.
Mm-hmm.
That's up to the individual in question.
Mm-hmm.
That does happen. That does happen.
Do you think the city should, like in for those programs specifically, do you think that the city should have a sobriety requirement to prevent the revolving door, like you called it?
Well, for
Recommendation.
okay, so I wait 6 months to a year to get this apartment, but the city gonna pay for the apartment for the whole year. Damn right, you should have some.
Yeah, I think
Why
so.
is strong?
I think so. If you're gonna pay my rent, if you're gonna pay 3/4 of my rent,
Yeah.
you should have some say so in like not so much what I do to maintain my housing, but as far as requirements of what could potentially take me out of that situation. And I think drugs is one of the things that could take you out of that situation.
It's like your parents, when you're a kid, my house, my rules. Like they get to say you don't get to.
Stick with your
Why do you think I think it's called harm reduction when they say they don't want to do that. Why don't they have these requirements? In your
I
opinion?
don't know, but I think you got to be careful with the requirements also. The requirements can't be so stringent as to become a means of picking winners and losers. Because you can do that too.
It doesn't. Yeah, it shouldn't be like a prison.
You can make the requirements so stringent or so tailored that the requirements itself is what picks winners and losers. So you have to still have an open base where you can get people off the streets. You know, where you could attract the people that you need to attract and get them off the streets.
Yeah.
But you're right though. There need to be something that can stop people from the recidivism of losing their housing. Something has to be able to stop you from losing your housing. And I think rules. Some type of rules or some type of incentive that could stop you from losing your housing should be in place.
Right.
Especially then, because then at that point, if they get through that year of housing and they still have these problems and they can't take care of it themselves, so they end up back on the street. So then you have this situation where somebody's life is exactly where it was originally. They haven't been helped out at all. But then also it's like basically all that money was wasted. It hasn't actually, none of those solutions have gone to like making these people's lives better. So you end up with it's like a lose.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like a lose all the way around.